If you've been playing around with voice assistants and Home Assistant, and especially if you have a preview edition like this, get ready because these changes are going to really make a big difference. Since Home Assistant launched its preview edition hardware, there's been one feature I've been dying to have, especially when using it with LLMs, and that's a follow-up mode, or as Home Assistant calls it, continued conversations. And what I mean by that is that up until the most recent release of Home Assistant, when you'd be speaking to your LLM inside of Home Assistant, if it would come back with a follow-up question, you needed to use the wake word to get back into the conversation. Well, that's no longer the case. Now, Home Assistant detects when a question is asked back to the user when using an LLM, and that opens the mic back up for a few seconds. It's one simple change that they've implemented, but it creates a much more intuitive dialogue that we can have with our LLMs and Home Assistant. So now I can do something like this. Hey Lorelei, shuffle a TV show on Plex.
Sure. What show would you like to shuffle?
How about The Big Bang Theory?
Shuffling The Big Bang Theory for you now. Enjoy the laugh.
And sure enough, I'll flip the camera around real quick and you can see we now have The Big Bang Theory shuffling. So that's made a lot of the pre-existing scripts that I have far more intuitive and flexible so that if she doesn't hear me right away, it doesn't break the entire flow. If you want to see more about that particular script, I did a whole video on that. The card should be somewhere up here. Let's go take a look at the second awesome feature, which goes hand in hand with this one, but is unique in its own way. The second one is around how conversations get started with your voice preview edition, or again, any other Home Assistant voice setup. Typically, you'll have to say the wake word or press the button in the middle to get the conversation going. But now you can have any automation or entities actually start conversations. So for example, when motion is detected for the first time in the evening in my kitchen, I have Lorelei popping up and saying, "Would you guys like to listen to some music?" It's a simple line, but it's taken a repetitive action, me manually queuing up music in the evening, and turned it into a sensor-driven, voice-first automation that feels alive. And if we're not in the mood, I just say no and that's it. But if I do want something, even something specific, I can say something like, "Yeah, how about some Spanish guitar?" And that's where the LLM can really be leveraged. There are a couple more ways I'm experimenting with these new features. For example, when I start to head toward my doorway, if I have any events on the calendar in the upcoming hour, Lorelei will invoke right as I'm leaving and let me know about the weather and just give me any updates I need to head out before I leave. And she can even ask me if she wants to do things like turn off the heat or close the blinds before we leave or turn off the television.
Garage Bay 1 is open. Safe travels.
I'm just scratching the surface on all the things that I can be using this new way to start conversations. But I love the idea of not always having to go and ask my LLM or my voice assistant for help. I want my house to respond to me and intelligently know when and where to get my feedback. The other nice thing that they've added is they've added a small chime that happens before your assistant starts speaking if you invoke it in that way using an automation or something other than triggering it with the wake word or pushing the button on top, which is very nice. I found that I did this for myself with some of my other automations before this came out. I was using other ways to send announcements to the home, not really starting a conversation, but it is incredibly awkward if all of a sudden this omnipresent voice starts speaking in the home. But if you precede it with a tone, it allows your mind to realize something's happening and focus on the first words coming up so you don't miss anything. It's kind of like when you're in an airplane and you hear the little chime before someone speaks over the loud system. It's exactly the same way. The Home Assistant team demonstrated this with a video on their most recent release party live stream.
The oven is on. Do you want me to set a timer to help you with your cooking?
Yes, please. That's a good idea.
How long should the timer be set for?
10 minutes.
timer is set.
The third feature, which I think is also equally powerful, is LLMs and Home Assistant can now actively search the web. So they're not limited to the context of the last time that the model was updated. They literally can pull real-time information. That means now you can pull real-time news, events, traffic, nearby recommendations, and it'll all pull live data. And what I mean by nearby recommendations, you can optionally include location data with the context that's sent out to the LLM. So if you ask something like, where is the nearest non-chain coffee shop near me? It will be able to deliver those responses. Let's give it a shot. Where is the nearest non-chain coffee shop to me?
The nearest non-chain coffee shop near you is Rad Coffee in Long Beach. It's open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. today. They offer high-quality coffee and a variety of brews. https://www.google.com/search RLZ equals 1C5CHFA_N.
The only buggy thing right now with at least the ChatGPT version of going out to fetch live web data is the Home Assistant will often repeat back the URL, which I'm sure will be fixed very soon. But it doesn't take away from the huge potential and excitement I have for this feature. I'm currently working on a replacement of the Echo and Alexa's flash briefing, where I can have a script for the conversation agent to pull all the latest headlines, and then I'll have the ability to kind of format that down and restructure it with another pass over the LLM if there are URLs present. But I really feel like this advancement is a huge bridge between where we were and where we need to be to truly replace the other voice boxes in the home like Google Home and Alexa. So yeah, this update is absolutely a game changer. I'm super excited to see all the ways that I'm going to continue creating scripts and automations based around these new features. Let's take a quick look at how to enable these features. So the first feature, continued conversations, is automatically enabled. There's nothing you need to do there. Just ask your LLM a question and it should keep the mic open if there's an additional follow-up question after that. So let's try this. Open the garage.
Which garage bay would you like to open? Bay 1 for Brittany's car or Bay 2 for Strato's car?
Bay 2, please. That works pretty flawlessly so far for me. The other two features require a little bit of setup. So let's first take a look at adding the ability for your LLMs to browse and search the web depending upon your queries. So all you need to do is go into your voice assistant setup, go into your voice assistant, and then click the settings next to the conversation agent, and then scroll beyond the prompt. If you have recommended model settings checked, you'll need to uncheck this. Once you do that, you'll have all these extra bits to configure here. So first, you want to make sure that Control Home Assistant is checked. It should be already if you've been using Home Assistant voice this way. Your model, it should be the one that you want to use. I'm actually going to go to GPT-4o. I don't mind paying a little bit more and getting the extra horsepower and intelligence in my responses. The temperature, I bumped it up a little bit beyond the baseline. An increased temperature will typically give you a little bit more creativity in the responses. And now this is the box you want to check right here to enable web searching. And as soon as you do that and submit the changes, that will open up your voice PE to make web searches as long as you have an LLM configured. And then this last checkbox right here will, as it says, include the home location when it does send the context out to the LLM. So you can ask location-specific questions and it should give you accurate responses. And then the last feature, the start conversation action, you can simply apply that to existing automations or make new ones. So I'll just quickly throw this together. and say, let's say, when kitchen motion is detected. Once motion is detected in the kitchen, what we want to do is we want to invoke one of my voice preview editions and have it ask if we want some music to play. So we will choose the action of assist satellite, and we will start the conversation. We will choose my preview edition for my bedroom, which is the one I have right here. I actually have 3 of the preview editions. And now we want to give it the introductory message that it's going to ask us. So let's do, good evening. Would you like to listen to some music? So that should be the first question that it asks. And we can add some extra prompts. So it is in the evening, around dinner time. The home occupants are in the kitchen, likely cooking dinner. Depending upon their response, start Spotify in the kitchen. And then the pre-announcement is the tone that it'll play. By default, it has a nice little chime, but you can customize that if you have a piece of media within your Home Assistant. It could be an MP3 or a WAV file. So let's give this a test. Go ahead and run this action.
Good evening. Would you like to listen to some music?
Yes, please.
Got it. Now playing Spotify in the kitchen. Let me know if you want to hear anything specific. For now, I'm shuffling your favorite playlist.
Thank you. And now I hear music playing in the kitchen. So that's working pretty well. You can see how powerful this can be. You can literally have anything trigger your voice assistant to do a lot of stuff. We already had the ability to have trigger announcements and messages, but now being able to start a conversation means that you can take actions from those notifications immediately without going into your phone or having to take additional steps to make those changes that you need in your home in that moment. These are the kind of features that move Home Assistant in the direction away from a fun experimental sandbox into an actual daily driver and something that truly enhances your day-to-day life. If you haven't already updated to the latest version of Home Assistant, I highly recommend it. It will open up these 3 features to you, and I'd love to hear what you'd like to see more about. I'm currently working on some videos that go over some of these new features, like in-depth tutorials going over my scripts. But if you'd like to see something in particular, like my flash briefing script that I'm working on, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.